Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Tetcher, and welcome to another episode of Tetcher Teaches Minis. This is a show where I try to give you guys out there who might be newer to the game, maybe you're just a little less experienced. Excuse me, something is happening on my other screen. There we go. Maybe you're a bit less experienced, or just want to improve your game, and I try to give you little bits of advice, and I try to teach you about the individual aspects of Heroes of the Storm to try and raise your game. So, this one is going to be a special one, similar to the last one. There's going to be in fact, there is actually going to be zero in-game footage in this particular episode. You're all going to see my lovely face and that's it. And the reason for that is because in order to describe what I'm going to be doing, if I was to show you in-game, I would have had to actively seek out people who are doing the game wrong. And I don't want to do that because that would mean I'm picking out people and naming and shaming them, which I don't want to do. So today we're going to be talking about when it is okay to do an objective and when it is okay to not do an objective. And that's the important one there. When should you not do an objective? So, I want you to picture a scenario in your head. For example, you are on Cursed Hollow. Let's go with that as an example. There is a tribute that has spawned. Your team are on their way. You don't see the enemy team. What do you do in that? But you're near enough to the tribute. What do you do? If you're on a hero who can safely poke, then maybe you can delay. But if you don't know where the enemy team is, there's a small chance they could be wrapping around to try and gank you. And this is something that we see way too often in Heroes of the Storm at all levels. Like, I'm in Master League right now, and I still see this. I see people who will put their own lives in danger to either delay, try to cap, or just scout an objective. And that could be a mercenary camp, that could be anything. And this is something that you should not do. So another example, would be a boss. I was in the game earlier. I'm not going to name the name, but I was playing with Muradin. My team were fairly even with the enemy team, and we went to bot lane. It's supposed to be a story episode at this point. We all went to bot lane to take our boss, because that was the only thing that was really available on the map. Muradin, despite the fact that we had no vision of the enemy team and there was no tribute up. So there's one place that they're likely to be if they think we're doing the boss, because they can't see us either. At this point in the game, they're definitely doing their boss, or they're being silly and giving us time to rotate up and put them in danger. Muradin, instead of helping us with our boss, or just going to soak another lane and put ourselves a little bit further ahead, he decides to go to their boss, not to contest it, because he's not that stupid. Of course he isn't. But he went to scout, see how far along they were with it. And that's a situation that people seem to put too much emphasis on. There was some good comments on yesterday's video, about the importance of giving information and keeping information from the enemy team. And yes, that's very important. Scouting is a huge thing in Heroes, preferably not with your face. Face checking is really dangerous. But what Muradin ended up doing is he scouted, got seen, and even though he's Muradin, one of the best heroes for escaping in the game, he got caught and he died. So instead of us being in a position where we were still even, or a little bit further ahead if we soaked XP, or heading up as 5 to contest together, where we all would have died together or would have won together, either way. Instead of putting us into that position, Muradin puts us into a position where we can now no longer push with our boss, because it's too dangerous to be in a 4v5, and we are forced to defend. And if they decide to push us 5, we're defending a 4v5. And that's a problem. So, because you should always try to keep yourself on the same amount of heroes as the enemy team. And you should always try to keep yourself a hero ahead, if possible. But if you are putting your own life in danger to do something, and that's either delay an objective, scout an objective, or something like that, then you're putting your team at risk of losing. This is why the majority of the complaints you'll see from people who are BM in this game are, what were you doing there? And that's a fairly valid complaint, as much as the majority of the people who say it are saying it in quite a toxic way, annoyingly. It's a very valid complaint, because you should always make sure that you are doing the action that gives your team the best chance of winning. You being with your team is usually a good chance of winning. Like, another example would be Infernal Shrines. I played this earlier. And we were playing with... Who was the hero for this one? I think it was a Tychus. No, it was a Diablo, sorry. So Diablo was alive. The rest of us were just reviving, and we were on our way to the objective, to the shrine. Diablo pokes in and out of the shrine to try and delay them, try and draw a bit of aggro, take a bit of damage himself. What ends up happening is, yes, he delays them from focusing on the shrine and taking it completely, And he did have enough souls for a revive. But what he ended up doing is instead of just waiting and us going in as 5 and engaging, he poked, put his life at risk. He did actually die in this scenario. He had enough souls for the revive. He can make his way back. You may think in your brain, that's fine, he's going to be back. But no, because that means there are now 4 people waiting for 1 person instead of 1 person waiting for 4. And that's once again where you reach a problem. He put his team, even for a short amount of time, in a situation where they were down a hero and they couldn't commit. So giving your life for any reason in this game is almost always a bad thing. There's only like one scenario I'd argue that it's okay to sacrifice your life, and I'm not even going to tell you it because it's not relevant in this situation. Next point I want to bring up on this one is going to be, we've talked about poking in and scouting objectives. We've talked about sacrificing ourselves for objectives, which is okay. Like, you can sacrifice yourself if you are 100% sure. If, let's say, for example, you're standing on a shrine, your team is capping mid. You can probably sacrifice yourself to make sure your team gets a Dragonite, especially if you are 100% sure you're going to cap it and you can push. But even then, your Dragonite is now pushing into a 4 versus 5. Which, pushing with a 4 versus 5 into a 5-man, which is a problem. Once again, the Dragonite is strong, but if it gets focused down because not everyone's with it, not everyone's giving it peel, then that's a big issue. So the next point I want to bring up is supports. And this is the one that I'm probably the most guilty of. I am bad at this particular point. And that is when should you save an ally? You should always save an ally if they are if they're being ganked and you have the opportunity. Drop the cleanse, drop a heal, get them out of there. But say, for example, we go for that Muradin that I was talking about earlier, the one who scouted the boss. I was playing Brightwing in that game. Would it have made sense for me to teleport up to Muradin and try and drop an Emerald Wind to try and keep him alive? The answer may seem like yes, because you've saved a teammate, but the answer is in fact no. Because unless you're 100% sure that you can get in, drop that ability without being stunned or anything like that, and then get out afterwards, because you get the pushback, but a lot of heroes have engages and disengages and stuff like that, so they can chase you down. So if you're 100% sure you can get away with it, then yes, you should 100% always try to save an ally, because you want to keep your numbers even or ahead of the enemy teams. If, however, you are not 100% sure, even if you're just a little bit less than sure, then you shouldn't do it, because best case scenario, yes, you save your teammate. Worst case scenario, they now get 2 kills instead of 1. And that's the issue. I have done this far too many times where I'm Brightwing, I'm Karazim, I'm anyone, and I'll be like, I'll save you, friend, who's dying because they are rough on their own, or someone who was ganked from something they couldn't see and couldn't do anything about, not their fault in that case. And I'll be like, I'll save you, I'll jump in as Brightwing, I'll dash in as Karazim, I'll just walk in as Ariel, and just drop a heal on you to try and keep you alive, only to be followed up by an extra stun where someone will follow up from the kill on my ally, or just past my ally, and get me as well. So you should always keep in mind that, okay, maybe I should just let that person die. Never blame them. You should not blame in Heroes of the Storm. You should not go into a game and see someone who's laned off on the road. You should, yes, maybe tell them that they've done wrong, but if you do, they're probably going to consider it. But yeah, maybe a short message after the game of, sticking with your team is a little bit safer. We're going to rotate with you. If you want us to come with you, ping. And we're happy to join you. But either way, there's a very thin line in Heroes, and all games, in fact, between giving advice in a friendly way to it being considered very bad-mannered. And it's very, very hard to tell that difference. But either way, I hope you all enjoyed. So the biggest point I wanted to say on this one is don't solo to delay or try and cap. Like, giving your life for an objective, it's almost never a good idea, because then your push isn't going to be as effective. Unless it's a situation where our core is open, so we need to stop them getting the objective. Even then, it's better to defend as 5, but say it's like we saw one in a professional tournament, I can't remember which one it was. But Infernal Shrines game, this is going to be the last point I make before I end the video. Infernal Shrines game, can't remember what the teams were, but red team on the right-hand side, this is right-hand for you, so red team on the right-hand side, have their core open. There's a Punisher in the mid lane that is about to be captured by the blue team. Blue team are capping it. They have all 5 heroes alive. Red team commit to try and steal that objective. They commit as 3 because they know if the Punisher goes over to blue team, then they're still effed. They can't do anything about it. What ends up happening is they do get the Punisher. at the cost. Red team get the Punisher, so they've stopped that going all the way to their core. What they've ended up doing, though, is getting themselves killed. So instead of trying to defend 5-man, waiting for their 2 allies to respawn versus the Punisher, they instead let the enemy team walk across the map as 5, completely ignoring the Punisher that they just took and in the game. Because an objective is defendable. A hero deficit is very, very hard to defend. And that's where I'm going to end this episode, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. This one was, once again, pretty much just stories, examples to try and give you the idea of, in my opinion, stuff that should help improve your objective strategy. And hopefully you can take that on board and use it in what is best in your games. This should all be taken with a grain of salt. I'm okay at the game, but I'm not the best. I'm just trying to give you guys advice to try and improve your game, and if we can all become better at this game together. So guys, thank you all very much for watching. If you have a question, or just something you would like to learn about, then please leave it as a comment in the comment section below, or come to my Discord, a link to which is in the description. Or if you want to support me in making these kind of episodes and much more, including allowing me to be able to stream, you can go to my Patreon, which is in the description below. I have been Tetcher. Thank you very much for watching. Let's go play some heroes, and I will see you all next time.